2, 1. We're live, and welcome once again to Face the Camera. This is the show that is going to challenge you to get in front of your lens, face your camera, and speak to your audience in the way that you were meant to speak to them. And also to explore how can we do this? How can we do this in a way that will actually reach the people who we want to be reaching? The people who believe the things that we believe, who care about the things that we care about. How do we do that? And today what I'm going to talk about are 3 myths, 3 popular beliefs that almost every one of us has bought into that actually are not serving us, and what an alternate route would look like to those popular beliefs. And this is all having to do with how we approach social media, content marketing, how do we interact with people online, just generally, how do we approach being on the internet like we are right now in this moment. So we've got, here's the situation. Every single day, billions of us, ourselves included, are interacting daily with many of the other billions of people who are doing this. And in our process of this kind of exchange, there are things that we have accepted as the conventional mythology of what we think is true and what will serve us and what will serve our audience better. And I want to bring up what these 3 myths are and how we can bust them wide open. How we can just do something entirely different that will be far more effective, valuable, and just generally purposeful use of our time. And what I see is that people are doing these things, they're following this mythology, and it's really hurting their business. And it's actually hurting the social exchange that's happening between people. So strap yourselves in, because here we go. We're going to go out after these 3 myths. Now, if you're here, if you're joining me right now, go ahead and say hello, give me a like, do something. And in the image that I created, the thumbnail for this video, I had a picture of a neon sign with a heart on it. And then there's a number besides the heart. And the heart, or the number, is 0. And then I put the message, all we need is more likes. This is part and parcel to some of the mythology that we have on social media. And, honestly, the song, John Lennon's song, wasn't all we need is likes. It was all we need is love. And I thought those 2 things went together beautifully as sort of a contrary thing. But this is what we see again and again, right? Like, people get on and we get into this post and reward. And Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, all these platforms know that when we post, if we get that instant reward, if we get a bunch of likes and a bunch of hearts and maybe even a bunch of comments, if we get that feedback, then the reward center in our brain goes off and we get those positive chemicals. We get some dopamine, we get that great hit, and we're going, awesome, I want more of that. Like right now, you can give me a shower of these. You just hit that like button a bunch of times and I'll be rewarded. So this actually creates a kind of addiction to how we interact and how we exchange on social media. And you'll see this, it's not just young people who are falling into this pattern. Many people are thinking, well, what proves that the content that I'm delivering and the time that I'm spending, what proves its value is the number of likes that I get. And man, I am here to say that that is not the most critical metric that you want to be paying attention to in any of this. So, and I see someone's here, right? Chidabala. Wow, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but great to see you, man. And thank you for your comments. He says, your tips are so helpful. And so on. And I'm going to, well, here we go. I can show this right there. And if you're wondering how am I doing this, like how did I just show this comment right here? I'm using a tool called StreamYard. And if you would like me to do a tutorial on StreamYard, I will do that. And I also want to preview this on Thursday. I go live every Tuesday and every Thursday. I do another episode of Face the Camera. So this Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be going live again. And on Thursday, I've just got a new, a bit of technology, a new cable and a new capture card to go to my second camera. So on Thursday, I'm going to set up a two-camera setup, and I'm going to demonstrate how I'm doing that and how I do that on this application onto StreamYard. So I'm going to give you a demonstration and a little tutorial on how you can actually go live and use two cameras and use this tool, this StreamYard tool, which you can use for free, and be streaming like I'm streaming right now. I'm streaming on Facebook, and I'm streaming on LinkedIn, and I'm streaming on YouTube all at the same time. And I can up my game and have like a two-camera shoot to show different kinds of things. So if you had the kind of presentation where you really wanted to show something, like let's say I had a table and I wanted to show you a new piece of gear that I was using and all the different facets of that gear, well, I can do that, and I can just have two cameras going. And after, and so like I can have one camera on my face like I have right now, and then I can just switch, and the other camera would be like pointing down on the table, and I could demonstrate something. Or if I had a cooking show, I could have a camera that demonstrates, what I'm actually making and the ingredients that I'm putting into the dish that I'm creating. Or if I had a movement thing, like I was teaching yoga or I was teaching dance, I could have two different angles, one that was further away that showed like all of me, and then a close-up of, like if I'm doing something on the floor, a close-up that would just show, the details of some kind of movement or stretch or something like that. So having two cameras can really improve and professionalize your presentation. So stay tuned for Thursday. So today, back to the subject of today, I'm going to cover three myths, the three biggest myths that I see that people are buying into that's really hurting the way that they're interacting when they're using social media and when they're online. And really, I see this definitely putting like the brakes on your business when people are doing this and behaving in this way. And we're all bought into this thing of like, well, we believe that this is the best thing for us to do. So here we go. Myth number one. Myth number one is, I need to teach everything I know. And in fact, the best thing that I can do when I show up, and it doesn't matter how you're showing up, but this could be a video that you're making, it could be a blog post that you're writing, it could be a Facebook post that has a picture and some text down beneath it. It could be your Instagram post where you're posting an image and then you're writing a caption for that image. All of this kind of social media creation, social media content creation, people are believing that the best thing that we can do is to bring value. And the way that people do it most commonly, the most common thing that people do to bring value is they show up to teach. And they think, okay, so I've got all this great information, I've got all this great wisdom, and I'm going to share as much as possible. And this is what is going to attract people. It's how I'm going to engage with folks. It's what they're going to find most meaningful in the exchange that we have. And I want to challenge that belief. So here's the thing. We are living in the information age. And so, the great promise of the internet was that in the information age, we would have all the information. In fact, we we've come there. Here we are. We're in the information age, and we have all the information in the world literally at our fingertips. On our phone, on our computer, we can go and find out anything. And so when you come into this arena that we call the internet, and you're sharing a piece of information, well, if somebody can Google the answer to that question, if someone can Google and find that information in multiple places elsewhere, then the information that you're sharing isn't particularly outstanding, and it's not particularly valuable, because basically it's already available. It's already here. And so if it's completely out of context, you're just saying, well, here's how to do this one thing. Well, if I search how to do that one thing, and I can find 1,000 other places to find that same information that you're sharing, then what you're bringing to the room isn't particularly valuable, and it's absolutely not outstanding. So this isn't to say that you should never do this. And it is to say that when you arrive, when you first start talking to your audience, when you first start wanting to attract people into having an interesting, meaningful conversation, that you do not start by teaching. You take off your teacher's hat and you do something entirely different. And actually, the things that I think that are more valuable and more attractive is to come in and say what you believe. Say the things that you believe most strongly in the values and in the vision that you have. And to start sharing your vision for the journey that you're on and the journey that you want to bring people on with you. And in this process, like when you say the things that you believe in, whether they're polarizing or they're impolite or they're provocative, in fact, the more impolite, the more provocative, and the more polarizing your beliefs are, the more attention you will get. And the people who believe what you believe will be drawn to entering this conversation with you. So the first step in all of this is like, what do you believe? And how can you share that and or show that in this medium on a regular basis with people? So the thing that Seth Godin talks about in this context, Seth Godin, if you've never heard of him, he's a really famous author who's written many books on marketing, particularly internet and social media marketing. And what he says is, you want to talk about things that matter to people who care. I'll say that again. Talk about things that matter to people who care. So if you say what you believe and you start this meaningful discussion about things that matter, and you're having that conversation to people who care about the same things, now you've got something going. Now you've got a place where people are going to start connecting with you. So this is myth number one, and this is myth busting number one. And sort of subtext here, in the process of talking about things that matter to you, one of the techniques that you can do, which is what I'm doing right now today, is you can come forward and say, well, what are the conventional things that people are doing, and how can you challenge that? And how can you shift perspective in people's minds? And this is another good way to start, and it's another good way to get people's attention, and it's another good way to get people to see that, oh, this person who's speaking to me believes what I believe. Or it's a good way to get them to go, oh my gosh, I've never thought about this in this way, and now I'm curious to know more. I'm curious to learn more about what this alternate route is. And so in this way, not only do you capture attention, but you're going to keep people engaged to stay with you and to stay part of this conversation on an ongoing basis. So that was thing number one. Yeah, Monica says it's an addiction. I'll bring your thing on here. Let's see. How do I get this to show? There we go. Blink. Right there. She says it's an addiction. Yeah. It's insane to aspire to it, but we fall into it so easily. It's so simple. It's so easy. You get on your phone and you go, oh my gosh, somebody liked my video. And that little blue notification circle lights up from Facebook saying, somebody liked your video, or somebody did something on your video. And so you click on that and you go to Facebook and you find out, what did they say? And now I need to know. And yeah, it just keeps going. All right. So thing number 2. We have another comment here. Question is video quality on live videos purely based on the ISP or one you is using? And that is a great question. And the answer is no. Having in terms of starting to do video, you definitely want to start by having a good connection. And so if you're looking at, okay, how do I up the professional look of my video? How do I make my room, my Zoom room, my Facebook room, my LinkedIn video look better? The first thing to do is to have a good connection. So have a good internet service, and then best practice is to have your computer that you are using plug directly into your router, so that you're not using wireless, you're using a direct line, direct to Ethernet cable to plug right into your router, and so you're connected. And that's the first place to start. There's other things that you can do to totally enhance your appearance, but starting with your connection is a really good place to start, but it's certainly not the only thing to do. And in fact, I just led a workshop just a few weeks ago on setting up your home studio, and I'll be doing that again. So stay tuned if you're interested in learning about what are all the basic ways to set up and enhance the way that I look online. And there are many good, simple ways that don't cost a lot of money and don't take a lot of effort to make yourself look really good and really professional online. Right. So thing number 2. We had myth number 1, which was teach everything you know. That's the myth and what to not do. Myth number 2 is I need to be seen as the expert. I need to come on to the social media world, and I need to be perceived as the person who is in the know. I need to show up not only in a professional looking way, but I need to be professional in the sense that people need to see me as this person who is kind of all-knowing in my field. And I want to challenge that, because we've all seen internet gurus or internet guru wannabes and people who come on and they basically act in this very almost condescending way and saying, look, I know the answer and you don't. And they come across in this way of saying, here's all these expert ideas and here's the expert stuff, and I'm going to show you exactly what is the thing to do. And this is the way, the one and only way. And I just want to bust all of that wide open. A lot of people, in fact, I would say most everyone, is in this position of holding themselves back until they feel ready enough and expert enough to start going out into the social media arena and start posting content on a regular basis, and in fact showing up on video. They feel like if I'm not an expert, like they feel like imposter syndrome. They say, well, I'm no expert on this, so how could I possibly show anything, teach anything, share anything of value? Because, there's all kinds of things that I don't know. And I just want to say that it's totally okay. First of all, you can take on the mantle of simply being curious. you can take on the role of being more like an experimenter, of being an investigative journalist, of going out into the world and trying things out, of learning from other people, of experimenting with something, of coming up with a theory, of coming up with some idea and say, okay, well, here's this thing that I'm thinking may be of great value and may be a great benefit, and I'm going to try it out. I'm going to do this work, and I'm going to share all of it, all of my process, all of my trials, all of my failures with all of you. And as soon as I learn anything, as I'm learning all of it, I'm going to share this with all of you. I'm going to bring back all the treasure that I've found, and I'm also going to bring back all the pitfalls that I've discovered so that you can avoid them. Now, all of this is really valuable, and you do not need to be any kind of expert in order to do this. So it's helpful to be an expert. It's helpful to be seen as an authority, and you can be sort of on the journey to becoming that authority for the people who you're serving. And one of the fastest routes to getting there is to, in fact, think about, like, who are the dream 50 people in your field that you admire? Who are the dream 50 influencers and gurus and thought leaders in your space who you admire most, that you follow, whose podcasts you listen to, whose videos you watch, whose books you read, whose shows you watch if they do anything on, mainstream media, like all of these kinds of folks. Who are these people? And who would you like to be having a conversation with? And then basically create a video series like the one that I'm creating and reach out to these people and say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could talk and discuss this topic? And I will put you in front of the people who are watching my series, and you can share the answers to these questions with all these people. And if you go after these people with a genuine sense of curiosity, it's like they have something that you really would like to learn from them. They're doing something that you totally respect and admire, and you want to find out, go really deep on how did they do it, and how did they get there, and how did they get over all the hurdles, and all that kind of stuff. Great, awesome, go do that. And that will be of super great value for you as a growth vehicle, but it also will be really valuable for your audience. And guess what? You do not have to be an expert in order to do this. And I was having a conversation just yesterday with an old friend of mine, a guy who I used to work with about 25 years ago. He was one of the instructors who worked with me when I was running my outdoor education program in the Pacific Northwest. And currently he's actually living on an island up in British Columbia. And we were talking about the possibility of him doing video and the kinds of things that he could do. And when I opened up this he was sharing with me these people that he respected in his field and these authors, and he was showing me 3 different books by these folks that he thought were great. And I was going, well, you could go and talk to those people. And he said, oh no, they're really big. They would never, talk to me. They're too busy. And again, like, this is a limiting belief. This is a mindset thing that I would like to see shifted, in the sense that if you create a show, this is why I'm a big advocate of turning your videos into a regular series, turning your videos into an actual show. Because if you create a show, and then by delivering that show, one of the things of value that you bring is the values that you bring to the guests who are on the show. So if your regular thing of doing a show is then after every episode, you make short little clips that highlight some of the very best and pithy thought leadership quotes that your guest says when they're on your show. and you make a short, like 2-minute or 1.5-minute video that's a highlight of the 20-minute or 30-minute discussion that you had, and you turn that into a social media friendly video with captions and a title and all that kind of stuff, and you make a set of them. You make one set for LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. You make all these little different videos, and you put them up on a Google Drive folder, and then you email the guest and say, hey, here they are. Like, here's a bunch of videos from our interview that you can use however you want on your social media. And when you invite them to come onto your show, now you're going to this person, you're saying, hey, you know, I really want to serve you. I have this show. What you're doing, I know my audience would really appreciate you talking about this one topic, which is, of course, their core thing. It's the thing that they love talking about. And you're going to make them look good on your show. And then you say, and after you come on the show, I'm going to give you a bunch of short little video clips taken from the original recording that you can then repost onto your social media that will help promote you and your thing and your ideas and your book and all the stuff you do. And when, it doesn't matter who they are, any person worth their salt, any influencer who is, you know, one of the more known people in your field, when they see that this is what you're doing, when they see that you're becoming, you know, something like the Oprah of your field, the talk show host that is got authority and a place where people come to hear discussion on this topic. And then they also see that now they're going to get the additional benefit of you creating social media content that is going to be of value to their audience, that you're actually not only serving them, but you're serving their people. This will impress, and, you know, instead of going, you know, knocking on the door of any of these people and, you know, asking them for something or wanting to sit down and have a virtual coffee or whatever it is that you want to do with them, this is a great invitation because now you're serving them. And this is a great way to reach out. So this all goes back to myth number 2, which is you don't need to start. You don't need to begin in this place of you need to be seen as the expert. That there are very easy steps to take to put you on that path with genuine curiosity and bringing value to everyone that you interact with. Not by teaching them things, but by having meaningful conversation with them. And if they're one of the guests on your video, helping them look good and helping them serve their audience. And of course, the people who you talk with, they don't have to be super big people. You could be talking to clients and helping them look good and helping them get in front of their audience. You know, if you're serving your clients in this way, by getting on and having meaningful conversation with them, and then they're sharing that video and the little video clips with their audience, what's that going to happen as a result of that? Well, they are going to be talking to their people who are like them. And those people are the most likely people who want to come and work with you as anybody else on the planet. So this is a really good alternate route. This is a really good alternate route than to, you know, be spending a lot of time going, oh, okay, I have to go get a degree and I have to get a credential and I have to read 50 books and I have to, you know, learn all these things and then I have to go out and do a bunch of stuff and then finally I will become an expert. And then after all of that, then maybe I'll be ready to step in front of the camera and start speaking. Don't do that. Don't wait that long. All right, so I'm going to look at my notes again. We're going down to number 3. All right, so I'm going to say one more thing about thing number 2. This is my last point here, and this is a really critical one. The expert syndrome is that we get all wrapped up in what we're going to say. Like, people are really thinking about, oh no, what's this person saying? And what you say is not nearly as important as how you make people feel. And in this medium of video, you always want to be thinking about, what do I want people to feel after they watch this video or during the time that they watch this video? Because if they're not feeling anything, if there's no emotional content, if there's no emotional movement in how they're feeling in this moment of time that we're speaking together, then they're not going to remember very much of it. And if, when you are interacting with people online and they're feeling something in that engagement, if they really feel, if they feel inspired, if they feel motivated, if they feel like, oh, you know, a light bulb went off and now they're excited because they have this new vision, this new idea. If they make some discovery, if they see something that you did where you fall flat on your face and they feel relief because they know that they're not going to have to do that themselves because you have shown them how to avoid that kind of falling flat on your face. Like, all of these emotional things that you can share in the video that you're making are going to help move people in a very feeling way. And when people have that kind of experience, when people have an emotional experience during the time that they spent with you, they, after the video is over, they're going to be sharing that. Like, they'll literally, human beings, when they have some cool breakthrough, emotional experience, whatever that is, they naturally will share that with other people. And this is my segue into item number 3, myth number 3. Myth number 3 is, you need to attract a large audience. You need to have a big audience in order to be successful. And this is where I really want to bust this open, but let me just check the comments. Monica says, wow, what a great idea. We got to talk. Okay, whatever you, that's great. Let's talk. So if anything I'm saying in this video, and this is true even if in the replay, if anything I'm saying in this video is resonating with you, and you want to find out how you can go further and deeper with any of these alternate routes, then I invite you to say, let's talk, like Monica just did. And I'm going to follow up, and I'll give you a link to my calendar, and you can schedule a time to have a direct conversation with me one-on-one, because I like nothing better than to talk to people in a more deeper way about this kind of thing. And you know, if you're thinking, right, okay, so this sounds good, how do I take the next step? Well, let's have that conversation. And I will help you get there. I'll show you what that next step is. So yeah, thanks for the comment, Monica. And let's see, I need to get back to, how do I, where'd it go? There we go, I'm gonna hide it. Right, and here's the comment on investigative journalism. Paul Simon says, I like that, investigative journalist. Yeah, right, go out there and, you know, be the reporter. I mean, I actually think in the year 2020, especially, all of us, even though we don't think of ourselves this way, when you start doing social media and content marketing, especially if you're doing video, you want to start thinking of your business as a media company. And I could tell a whole long story about my previous company and how I went through the evolution of doing that, but I'm not going to take the time to tell that story right now. But if you're here next week, remind me, and I'll share that story of how I went through the evolution of turning my business into a media company. And that's exactly how I approach my business right now. So yeah, great comment. So here we are in thing number 3, busting the myth about a big audience and the need to have one. So these myths kind of go together. And if you are having a meaningful conversation, if you're talking about things that matter to the people who care about these things that matter to them, if you're having this conversation and in the process, there's emotional experience, people are experiencing something, they're feeling something, they're getting moved in a direction where they're going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. They're feeling inspired by the process that you're taking them on. And they're feeling inspired and moved and recommitted to, in fact, going further than they've ever gone before. To jumping off the cliff, and to doing whatever it is that they need to do to get the thing that they want. If there's something that's been holding them back, and you share some story about someone who had the same experience, someone who was being held back by the same thing, and then the story of what they did to change that, to overcome it, to meet that challenge and break through it. If you share that story and people see that, oh my gosh, there was somebody who was just like me, they had the same thing that I have, they had the same experience that I have, and now look at them. And if it's possible for them, then now I think it could be possible for me. That's exciting. So now they're feeling excited. And this is an emotional thing. It's not just information, it's an emotion. So when somebody goes through that, what do? Well, one of the things that they do is they go talk to somebody. They go, oh no, I saw this cool video and I saw this really cool thing happen and I'm going to share it with you. And literally, like in the social media environment and in the internet environment, it's so easy to literally hit the share button down below. And of course, if you guys are getting something out of this, you're getting an emotional experience out of this, and you know somebody, if you have some friend, some acquaintance, somebody online, or maybe it's all of your friends, who you think, all of your business people that you know personally, who may be going through a rough time right now because their business is closed down during the pandemic and during all the closures of businesses, or maybe they just lost their job and they're trying to figure out what to do next. Well, the things that I'm talking about today are all an opportunity to take an alternate route and move in a new direction and move in a different direction than what everybody else is doing on social media. So you know somebody who might benefit from this discussion, go ahead and share the video. Go hit, it's really simple. You hit that share link, and if you know the friend personally, you can actually tag them when you share it. So take a moment and go do that. And I'm just going to check my notes here and see what I had to say. I write all these things down, and then I kind of just riff on it. Right, so here's the thing about a big audience. Every single person, I know all of you guys who are on right now, and all of you guys who are watching in the replay, I'm speaking to you in the future, every one of you can make a video, and that you can make that video be seen by 100 people. Every one of us has that capability. I don't care who you are, I know you can do this. You've got a bunch of friends on Facebook, and you've got some connections over on LinkedIn, and maybe you've got a bunch of other people on Instagram, and maybe you have an email list, and the email list has 100 people or more on that list. Okay, so 100 people, it's not hard. Like within your current network, even if you only have 50 friends, which I bet you have more, but even if you only have 50 friends, you can reach out to those 50 friends individually and ask them to help you share this video so that you can try and get it to 100 people. You can get on your video in the beginning and say, look, my goal with this video is to have it be seen by 100 people. And I really want you to share this to 100 people. So, okay, so you can do this. Like this can happen. It's not difficult. And if you don't know how to do it, if you're thinking, oh no, that's impossible, then in the comments say, let's talk. And we can have a half-hour conversation, and I'll give you at least 10 ways to make this happen. So you do this, you get your video, you get it in front of 100 people, and if you're doing the things that I'm talking about, if you go back to myth number 1, anybody remember what that one was? If I look at my notes, It was, I need to teach everything you know. So you start and you don't teach. You don't come to your first video and start teaching. You come to your first video and you start talking about the things that matter to you. You start talking about the things that you really believe in. You start talking about your purpose. You start talking about the mission that you're on. You start talking about the vision that you have for changing the world and making things that are better, that are going to make the world a better place. You start talking about all of that. And then, beyond that, you forget about being seen as the expert and you just get curious. You say like, okay, so we're on this journey. How do we get there? And then you throw out your theory and you say, well, I have this theory. I have an experiment that I want to conduct. And that experiment is I'm going to do these next 3 things. And I'm going to try and see if it gets me closer to the goal that I'm trying to get on. So follow me on my journey and see if I actually accomplish these things or if I fall on my face. Create some tension, create some emotion, create some feeling, create some stakes, like create something like, oh my gosh, will Brad make it across the ravine if he drives his motorcycle up and over this ramp? Do something Evel Knievel-like in your video series just to see if things are going to happen. Like next week, I am going to go live with 2 cameras. Now, I haven't done that with this tool. So I'm going to try it out and I'm going to see how it works for the first time on Thursday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to see if I can make this experiment work and learn how I'm doing it and what tools I'm using to accomplish it so that you can do it for yourself, then you can join me then. Or you can see if I do it and it totally crashes and burns. And what do I learn from that? We'll find out on Thursday. So these are all things that you can be doing in the things that you do. And, when you're doing this and people see the value and they have the experience, the emotional experience that you're sharing, they will naturally share this with other people. And what happens is that they will bring their friends. They will bring their friends. If you're interviewing one of your clients, if you pull somebody from the audience, like any one of you guys today, I could pull you in and we could go live together. Well, what will you do if I bring you on? You will probably share this video with your friends and say, look, I was on the video with Brad and we talked about this really cool thing. It's only natural. And it's not about manipulating people so that they'll help you out. It's more like you help them out and they feel so great. They can't help but share that experience with other people because they are feeling motivated to help other people. So when you help people to the extent that they feel that they want to take that ball and run with it and help even more people down the line, this is when you start winning the game. This is when more and more people will start joining you. This is when more and more people will start tuning in. This is when more and more people will arrive because the people who are sharing what you believe, the people who believe in the things that matter, that you believe matter, the people who are having this emotional exchange around what they feel, what are they feeling, how are they getting to where they're going, all of that, well, that's just going to grow naturally because they're going to share that experience. They're going to share the experience with other people. And so you do not need a big audience. And there's all kinds of other things of like, you don't need a fancy funnel. You don't need a complicated online internet thing. You don't need a lot of stuff that most of the internet marketers, the digital marketers are teaching you that you do need. So there they are. Those are my 3 myths. And do this, show up, do it consistently, and this is key. This is like a bonus thing. Don't show up randomly. Show up consistently. The best thing you can do is turn your content marketing into a show and be consistent so that people can count on you being there. And as you turn into a show, you elevate the status and the value that your delivery, your presentation, your sharing, your exchange, all this stuff that you're doing, you are elevating the status of the value that it is bringing to people. It's bringing more. And it's bringing more to the guests that you have on as people who you interview. And it's bringing more to the people who you serve. You could bring them on and you can coach them in the moment. You can bring them on and you can do for them what you want. I mean, some of the most favorite shows are the shows like This Old House, which is basically going into someone's house and remodeling it for them. People love that stuff because you're bringing value to, some homeowner, and then other people are seeing that experience and they share it. They literally share the experience because it's like everybody's following the dream. It's like, oh my gosh, I want a dream home. How do I get a dream home? Well, This Old House is going to show me how I can take this old beat up house and turn it into a dream home. And they do it again and again and again, which is basically proving how possible it is and sharing in the experience and the triumph of getting there. So my question for you is like, how can you do something similar? How can you turn your content marketing and your video marketing into that kind of experiential presentation and show and journey and terrific, like repeatable thing that you can do for people? Right. So I'm going to show this one last comment. Paul Simon says, thanks for sharing your passion and crushing the myths. Giving the confidence to do live video and creating confidence to create a show. Yes, well, you're welcome. So welcome. And Phil says, look, New Zealand is in the room. Great to see you, Phil. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm just looking at the time. Plenty of time today. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, next Thursday, I'll be live again at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, right here, these same channels. You can join me live. And what I'm going to do next time is I am going to demonstrate a 2-camera live shoot, a live video that's using 2 cameras and the different ways that you can use that, and how I'm setting that up and using that with this tool, which is called StreamYard. I'm going to give a little demonstration. I'll share my screen. I'll show you what I'm doing. And one of the things that I'm going to do, because I'm showing this, is I'm going to have one camera like the one I have here, and then I'm going to have another camera which basically is further away that shows like, okay, here's my whole setup. And then I can demonstrate, okay, well, here's what I'm doing, and here's what it looks like. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.